Today on the Mr. Maple Show podcast, Tim counts down his top 25 Japanese maples. 12 through 1.
Howdy, y'all, and welcome to the Mr. Maple Podcast. I'm Tim. I'm sitting here with Sean, and today we're going to continue on my list from my top 25 Japanese maples of all time. Last week, we had a great time talking about Japanese maples. We made it from 25 down to number 13. So we're going to start off today with number 12 and continue on with my list of top Japanese maples. We had such a good time, though, but in a blink of an eye, it was already in close to an hour on our podcast, and I was like, man, we're going to have to split this thing in two.
Welcome to the show. If you don't know who we are, we're MrMaple.com. We have over 1,500 different varieties of Japanese maples. We also have a lot of conifers. We've got a lot of azaleas. We've got a lot of camellias. We got a lot of plants. So check us out at MrMaple.com. Check out our 10 at 10s on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Hey, let's get back into this.
So guys, when it comes to Japanese maples, we love them. At Mr. Maple, we do one of the largest selections of Japanese maples in the country, and that's what we're passionate about. It. We seek out new varieties, like some people may seek out that super rare comic book that they're after, and then we do our best to graft and produce them and make them available through our website, MrMaple.com. We release 10 new trees, actually 20, every single Tuesday and Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you can always go to Mr. Maple and shop with us there. We're the Mr. Maple Show on your favorite podcast platform if you're watching us on YouTube, but we're the Mr. Maple Show on YouTube if you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform. So we can reverse that back for you. Make sure you subscribe to both because we put out a lot of content all about Japanese maples, and we love sharing everything we've learned about these amazing trees with you.
So, if you haven't checked out the first 13 of your top
25 through 13, yeah.
Be sure to go back and check that out when you're done. Finish this one first. You can always go back, but go back and check them. And I just find it fascinating because you and your brother have put together just probably one of the most impressive lists of Japanese maples that you offer, and you have narrowed it down your own personal choice down to 25. You have some honorable mentions, but it's just impressive because, a lot of times I see it, I've done it, employees have done it, ask you, Tim, what's your favorite plant? Or what's your top this? What's your top that? So it's just exciting to see you sit down, make a list. There's a lot of stuff crossed out and a lot of stuff written in.
Oh my goodness,
it's not easy.
It's changing as the podcast goes on. Literally in the last podcast, I was marking things out and putting things in that I realized I'd forgotten or missed, and with 1,500 varieties of Japanese maples, I'm sure there's something I'm going to have missed. And I'm like, that should have been in my top 25. I don't know where, but it should have been in there. And plenty of trees I think should be in my top 25. But then when I start putting down a list, I'm like, it doesn't quite make that list like I thought it would have.
So before we just jump right in from your 12 through number 1, and I know you have some honorable mentions, we talked before on the last podcast, I asked you, you've got this, from your grandmother and your father's. So on your father's side and your grandmother on your mother's side. So both sides of the family, you have, we sit here and we got 50 years behind us, and that's just the Nichols side. But it goes back even further. This history of you and your brother working with Japanese maples, it's in your blood.
Yeah, my grandmother started growing Japanese maples in the 1950s. My dad on the other side of the family started growing Japanese maples in the 1970s. He didn't know that my grandmother had Japanese maples when he started dating my mom. That's weird for Western North Carolina in the 50s and 70s. It's not like Japanese maples were that prominent of a thing back then. They've definitely become more prominent in today's society. But this is one of those things where my brother and I fell in love with Japanese maples, and then we've been best buds since I was born. He he got my mom to call me Tim. She was going to call me Scott, which is my middle name, but he convinced mom to call me Tim. When Matt would go hang out with his buddies, he would take me along. I'm 6 years younger than Matt. 6 years. Think about it. When he was 9, I was 3. When he's 13, going and hang out with middle schoolers, almost high school then, I guess, getting close. He's 13, I'm 7, and he's bringing me along. And he's always been one of my best friends, and being able to do this business with him, being able to play off each other, since we're both passionate about this, it's one of the things that makes this business fun, because we can talk about the trees that we like together all the time. We can try to graft and produce the varieties we like. We can try to make those available as much as we can. And he pushes me and I push him, and we each have a unique perspective. I'm sure at some point he'll do a top 25 list, but it'll be interesting to see how his list stacks up with mine.
I was just thinking that. I was just thinking, like, when he does one, because I was going to ask you, like, how similar do you think your list would be similar? Do you think there'd be crossover, or do you think you'd be two totally different directions?
Two totally different directions. We're very different mindsets. I'm a very analytical person, and Matt's a very outgoing person. And while I know I can be outgoing at times, we have two different approaches to life. When we go out to a maple society, I'm typically hanging out with many of the maple academia, and Matt's the life of the party and hanging out with everybody. And so it's very, very different mindset. So I think they'd be very different, but the fact that some of these Japanese maples are so spectacular, I definitely think some of them would still be in the top.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, y'all. So honorable mentions. Before we get into the top 12, remaining left from my top 25, there's some trees that I noticed didn't make it to my list, and I don't know where they would go. So we're going to throw in a couple more honorable mentions, maybe 3. And I'm going to start off with Kristen Star. Kristen Star is an amazing spring interest Japanese maple. It gives you some coral pink with a little bit of yellow in there. It's really nice. It's a selection by Bill and Kristen Taylor that we were able to introduce into the nursery trade through us here at Mr. Maple. Bill and Kristen Taylor have an amazing garden in Spartanburg, South Carolina. If you ever get the chance or opportunity to go visit their garden, please do. It is amazing and beautiful. He has one of the first, I didn't put Jermaine's gyration on this list. Man. But anyways, too late now. Jermaine's gyration were definitely made on this list. Honorable mention real quick. That's an amazing weeping, fastest growing Mack truck of Japanese maples, good fall color. But anyways, we went to go see this amazing Jermaine's gyration that he had, and Kristen Star is a seedling that he found, Bill did, and named after his wife, Kristen. It's shorter, wider, amazing spring interest, and it is just spectacular in the spring. A lot of people want the tree Akane, and we talk about this all the time. Akane at a flower show in Japan, a guy paid $1 million, and it's in the Japanese Maple book. You can read it. They paid $1 million for the original Akane because the spring interest, the leaves themselves looked like flowers leafing out in the spring. It was just so beautiful at this flower show in Japan. Kristen Star has a very similar approach, but it doesn't get the fungus on the leaf that Akane does later in the season. And it's not just that Akane burns up in the sun. It gets this fungus in the shade too. We've trialed it and tried to do our best with it, but it just doesn't look good for us late spring, early summer, ever. Kristen Star looks good in the spring, and the leaves look good in the summer as well. So we got that similar spring interest, and it's lower and spreading. It's definitely got more of a spreading habit. It's not an upright like a Wenayama or a Katsura. It's got a lower and spreading out habit. The original tree, it's about 4 feet tall, maybe 6-8 foot wide, and it's got a caliper of it, maybe 7-8 inches. I mean, it is beautiful there in Spartanburg, South Carolina, and we grafted and started pushing in the trade as a replacement to Akane because it is beautiful, gives you the similar aesthetic, but it doesn't have the problems. And I think that's a win for everybody.
And you don't have to spend $1 million for that spring interest.
Yeah, exactly. It's not $1 million either. All right, guys, next up, I got Flying Daggers on my honorable mentions. This is a Pomatum selection that Matt and I found as a chance seedling from the Keith Arboretum in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. It is an Acer Pomatum. Pomatum is an in-section palmata. It's from China. So it's basically like a Chinese close cousin to a Japanese maple. It's closely related as the Japonicums and the shirosanams, probably a little more closely related, actually. They're considered to be drought resistant. They're considered to have some of the best fall colors. We started looking through Acer Pomatum because of our friend Stan Tyson from Illinois. He got us into growing some Pomatum that he'd brought back from China. And we started thinking, this is pretty cool. It's got great fall colors. What else is out there? And Flying Daggers, when we selected it, had a lunar lobum style leaf. As a seedling, it looked very elongated. And seedlings can change over time. Once those leaves become more mature, you really start to get what this tree may be. Well, we had started grafting it, and we had a number of 1 gallons around the nursery, and maybe some 3 gallons. And Talon came by and visited with the Maple Society and took photos of it. Well, we sent him one of those trees. And if you'll notice the blog that he did on visiting Mr. Maple, he puts in his blog about, these guys I wish they were my son so they could take it from my nursery. It's crazy that we bought the nursery from him now. But Flying Daggers is one of the trees featured in that blog, and it's in the fall color. And it just looks like a little lunar lobum, and that's starkly different than what this tree developed into. Because as it grew, it no longer quite looked like the lunar lobum we thought it was going to be. We thought it was going to be like the Biniotaki or Scolopendrifolium of Pomatum. Turns out it's a Makawa type, which is so much cooler. And it's got that tightly layering habit. As it ages, it has just that Makawa-like effect. And the leaf still looks different than your typical Pomatum leaf. And the name Flying Dagger still fits because it's still very sharply and pointed, even though they're not as narrow as they once were. And still gives you good red fall color. Love Flying Daggers.
Well, I like that you talk about that name with it and how it fits. I love a tree where the name fits. When you look at the tree and you hear the name, you're like, aha, that makes sense. Flying Daggers to me is one of those, when you hear Flying Daggers and you look at the tree, you go, aha, makes sense. Great name.
All right, guys, before we get to the 12 list, I got one more honorable mention, and it's Allen's Gold. Allen's Gold is a selection our good friend Pat McCracken got us on too early. Allen's Gold in the springtime was selected because it has some amazing orange color in the spring. It's a beautiful spring interest Japanese maple. And then it goes to a gold color. It's a good upright tree out in the landscape. And I mean, it's a beautiful all around selection. It's heat tolerant. It can handle full sun in the Raleigh, North Carolina area. So more like the middle of the state, it can handle full sun. It's proven to be fairly heat tolerant, vigorous, about a foot of growth per year. The thing that makes Allen Gold stand out from every other spring interest Japanese maple is it's also a pine bark. And we didn't realize this when we first grafted it. Neither did Pat. And one day, Matt was walking outside and he was like, Tim, this has pine bark. And he's like, call Pat. And so I called Pat, and Pat went and checked out the tree, and the original tree also had pine bark. And then it was like this aha moment where we both realized this is the very first spring interest Japanese maple that is also a pine bark, breaking the mold of what everyone thinks of as a pine bark, just being a green. And the fact that this one can give you some other colors in the landscape that are dynamic in the spring, and then also give you that pine bark that gives that aesthetic of something much older in the landscape. It may take longer to get that pine bark than many of the other pine bark selections, but this is a game changer all the way around with Japanese maples.
So these are just your honorable mentions. Now we're getting into 12 through number 1. And again, if you missed 25 through 13, when you're done with this one, go check that one out.
So and I had 3 honorable mentions in that one too.
And you had 3 honorable mentions in that one is too.
So if you throw Jermaine's gyration in there, I guess somehow those have turned into 25 plus 7. So it almost turned into 32. So guys, getting in at number 12, I've got the original Peaches and Cream. And this is another selection by Yamina Rare Plant Nursery in Australia. And It is very different and it's very beautiful. It's one of the first reticulated selections on a medium style leaf that we started growing here at Mr. Maple. My dad was good friends with a guy named Robert Jackman, who was a collector here locally, and he would order some plants in mail order. And sometimes he got those from Veritree. Sometimes he got them through people who were doing mail order shipping for Veritree's nursery, which is called Maplewood Nursery. Kind of crazy that I grew up on Maplewood Knoll Drive. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just like a homage there. It's crazy that the Maplewood name just keeps coming up with Japanese maples. But Peaches and Cream, it's unique. The springtime, you get this peach blush across the entire leaf. And then you get that cream. And if you have this tree in the sunlight, there's times where you will have the peach and the cream on the tree at the same time, so you can really get the idea of what this Peaches and Cream name is. Now, it has that reticulated Japanese maple variegation where you see the veins are kind of like a dark green in the leaf. And you get that dark green with that peach blush. That's nice. When you get that cream blush or some of that peach and the cream in there and the green veins, it is next level. This is a nice mid-sized tree, 8 foot in 10 years, maybe that 6 to 8 foot kind of range. And it can handle full sun here in Western North Carolina. It is dynamic because there's not a lot else that has that kind of bubbly leaf that Peaches and Cream does with that reticulated variegation. It's got a good upright habit, typically getting almost as tall as it is wide. It's unique in the fact, too, that it goes to a yellow in the fall. Many of your Japanese maples go to oranges and reds. You typically get more on the yellow side with the original Peaches and Cream. Yamina Rare Plant Nursery introduced some amazing plants. They're some of our friends. And, it's funny because we seek out information. I mean, it's not just the books. I run into the fact that Yamina Rare Plant Nursery introduced this. I email them. I say, hey, can you tell me anything more about this? So we can dig a little bit further. We can get a little bit deeper on this. And there's a selection by AJTs. But it was cool because I was emailing them and, saying, hey, if you're ever here in Western North Carolina, come by and visit. And they're like, well, we were about 10 minutes away from you last year, and they'd actually been at the Dr. Kerr's place, which is like 10 minutes away. Dr. Kerr was a former head of the National Arboretum, and he moved to Flat Rock, North Carolina, real close, and they toured his Magnolia collection. And I'm like, oh man, I can't believe we missed the meet up there, because that would have been so cool to get to meet this family that's introduced things like fairy lights, named Roof and Herb Winter Gold, Peaches and Cream. I mean, they just got some really cool plants, Canora Pygmy, that are staples in the trade. And Peaches and Cream, it gives you that dynamic in the garden that you don't get out of many of these other reticulated styles. That peach color, that cream color, it's very attractive. And I love the Go series. They're amazing. Peaches and Cream, it's in at number 12.
It's a hitter. It is a hitter. And I was just thinking that you're talking about the Ghost series. If Talon stumbled across Peaches and Cream, it would have been part of the Ghost series. Peach Ghost. There,
Cream Ghost.
But if he stumbled across this before they came across this, if he came across it, he would have chosen.
Yeah, and I think that's important. It's important to really be able to go through and select cultivars that are cultivar worthy. There's a lot of cultivars out there, and you may go through and evaluate hundreds and hundreds of seedlings, and one or two may be interesting enough to actually get named and different enough. And Peaches and Cream, when you see it, different than everything you've ever seen. Mm-hmm. And that's what's so attractive about the color, the dynamics, just the way that Peach and Cream play off each other. I think it was very aptly named. I think there's a lot to be said about a good name. And the name plays right into the colors and everything you see and experience when you have one in your garden.
Now, your next choice, going from number 12 to number 11, so coming in at number 11, I think is the perfect example of the story of what gardening is.
Yeah, it's very true. Coming number 11, I've got Acer Pomatum Naka Kamado Weeping. Now, Naka Kamado Weeping plays a special place in my heart. If I had to talk about my favorite individual trees, not my favorite cultivars, it would be number 1. The age of the original Naka Kamado Weeping. It's a tree in Japan that is somewhere between 400 and 600 years old. It sits at a temple in the Fukushima Prefecture on this hillside. It's called the National Treasure of Japan because it's one of the oldest recorded Japanese maples in history of Japan. It is amazing. It is beautiful. Architecturally, you have these branches that twist and curve and go in different directions. The leaf is very similar to something like a Ryusen or a Jiro Shidari. It has a really nice hooking and twisting habit to it. Matt and I were on a TV show in Japan called Nippo ni Ikitai, which means everyone wants to go to Japan. And when we were on this TV show in Japan, which is like kind of like something to the popularity level of Undercover Brother, I think over 12 million people in Japan watched this particular episode that Matt and I were on over there. And we go around and see amazing things about Japanese maples, whether it was making maple tempura, which is like maple fried cookies at Mino Park with this lady who's a legend at making these, or going and seeing Japanese maples in perfect fall color at temples and meeting with the monks that take care of these trees. You know, we had an amazing experience, but one of the most important things we did that was not on camera was when we were visiting our good friend Nakata-san of Nakata Nursery. And he came and visited us this past fall. We shot some videos with him here in America. But when we were over in Japan, he trained us on Japanese gardening. But one day they were shooting B-roll for the TV show, which meant that we weren't part of the shots. We were looking through some of his literature and realized that the National Treasure of Japan that we'd heard rumors about was less than an hour drive from his nursery. So we begged them to allow us to rent a car. The TV show wouldn't. But Nakata-san said, I'll drive you over there. And literally, we were so ecstatic. We pulled up on this rainy day and walked up on this historic tree just hitting fall color, where you just had some reds on the leaves, on this nice twisting habit. And just seeing this tree from a distance, it just drew you in. And it's interesting because they have this tree there, and there's stakes that are over 200 years old. And they think at some point they may lose this tree because it's so old. It's over 600 years old, which means, you know, this tree is older than the United States. This one tree. Insane. And it has a sign there that says Naka Kamado Weeping. The original name on this tree is over 400 years old, says Naka Kamado Weeping. Some people said that the original name is National Treasure. No, it is one of the many national treasures, and it is the Japanese maple national treasure in Japan. That's a nickname for it. It is, I mean, you walk up to this tree and you just experience age in a heartbeat. You just see it and you're like, this is amazing. And right next to it, they have this seedling from it, or maybe a rooted cutting from it. Couldn't quite understand the translation, but it was over 200 years old. And they're afraid that at some point they will lose the original. And if they lose the original, at least they continue that legacy with the Naka Kamado Weeping legacy. And so this is like this lineage that they have there. And then around the town, they have seedlings from it planted near people's mailboxes and all around. So it's a pretty amazing experience getting to see. But in the landscape, this is going to be a fun tree. It's got a weeping habit. It's got a great story. I mean, every tree has a story, but the fact that this is a tree at a temple in Japan that is above, that's from the, like, literally Ryusen, Jiro Shidari, Dragon Master, Golden Falls, everything comes from the lineage of this tree that's really cool in the trade that everyone's after. And so you're like, that is so cool. Look at this piece of history right here. And getting to experience that history was pretty spectacular. And the fact that a tree has some history and a story behind it, that brings so much to it in the garden. And the fact that you can take this cultivar, plant it in a pot, and then be able to tell someone about that, that's pretty cool. but the way it twists, it curves, its weeping habit, its structure, it's got great fall color. I mean, it had to make my list. And now, like I said, if this was my top all-time favorite Japanese maples of all time, I'm just going to tell you right now, it'd be number one, and the giant Macao at Buckholz would be number two.
Number two. Well, it's, last week, Brian, Corbin, and I were talking. We were talking about Naka Kamado weeping, because Corbin was just in Japan and got to experience what you guys got to experience, seeing that in person. And I had to ask Corbin, I said, you talking to Nakata-san about this and seeing it in person, I said, would this tree exist today without human intervention? But then that got me thinking, it's like, well, probably not, but that's what gardening is. This tree is the true example and the history of how far back it goes of us interacting with these trees in the landscape. That's what gardening is that interaction with us, with that out there. And this is the original, that's when, before I said, it's kind of the essence of what gardening is, this tree. And it's just a great example of the tradition of man working with these trees in the garden. And, you've got 1,500 different cultivars, but, nothing that goes back 500 years, So, it's just a special tree, the tradition, the history, and the example of how it shows how we were gardening all the way back then.
The thing that's really cool about this, too, is you look in the 1700s list of Japanese maples. And this is just one list of Japanese maples. It's the oldest record that we've ever seen on a listing of Japanese maple cultivars. Naka Kamado weeping isn't there, but it was there. And so you also begin to think, what lists were out there that never made it? Because this is an amazing tree, and so much has came down through there, through the lineage of Naka Kamado weeping. It's like, what was out there that sort of lost to time? And that's one of the reasons why we try to do our best to document these things. We try to do our best to put as much information out on our YouTube channel, documenting the history behind all these trees, where they come from, who introduced them, and give the proper people the proper credit. Because, this is an amazing, fun pastime collecting Japanese maples. And we've got some amazing people who have contributed to that. Just think about all of the people that took care of, pruned, helped shape this Naka Kamado weeping. We're talking about generations. 400 years. That's insane.
That is insane.
All right, guys, we got to get into my top 10. We've only done 2 so far, and we're 30 minutes in of my top 12. We're getting into Acer shirosana moonrise. Moonrise is one of my favorite Acer shirosanums. It's a selection by my friend Carl Munn. Carl, good friend and mentor to us here at Mr. Maple. Moonrise is one of the most amazing trees I've ever grown. It continually has that full moon leaf that we love with autumn moon. The thing with autumn moon is we tried growing it in full sun here in Western North Carolina. It's one of the ones that needs protection from the hot afternoon sun in my climate. Moonrise doesn't. It can handle the sun. It's vigorous. It has a similar aesthetic, but very different. The way it is very different is the colors are more intense, a little bit richer colors as well. We can get some pink to apricots across it. We've often compared it to the Cersei's redbud that's very popular right now called Flamethrower that we offer on Mr. Maple from time to time. Flamethrower is known for putting on just these red colors over top of a yellow. Moonrise does something very similar with these very intense, rich, bold colors of just corals to apricots over top of a lime green. We're talking like a lime green, almost yellow green on that full moon style leaf. The fact that it's vigorous, it's upright. We're talking 8 foot by 8 foot in 10 years. Nice rounded canopy. It makes a beautiful tree in the garden, and it has a good yellow fall color. Moonrise, to me, one of the best all-time selections of Japanese maples. Again, 1,500 varieties of Japanese maples. I have Moonrise at number 10. And that's a big statement. It's everything people want for having color contrast in the garden. Constant change, constant color. Texturally interesting with those rounded full moon leaves. It's easy to grow. It's durable. It's an Acer shirosana. Shirosanas often leaf out a little bit later than your Pomatum, so it avoids later threats of frost because of that. It's a winner, and it had to come in on number 10.
You know, I think that Moonrise is really gaining popularity on Makawa Yatsubusa. Here in the last several years, we've been doing a lot of these top fives, and more and more and more people, that Moonrise is coming in number one as they're in their top fives. It's a great tree. And, you know, Brian and I just got to go look at the original with Carl. He showed us last time we were there. It's just a killer tree. But like I say, it's rising up on the list for a lot of people, and there's a good reason. So,
I mean, Moonrise, it's one of those trees that is just amazing. Years ago, Matt and I, we were still at tailgate markets. We were learning about Japanese maples. We had our website. We'd started doing a little bit of mail order. And our friend, Richard Bomar, who many of y'all may have seen on our MrMaple Show do a top 5. You may have met him driving a car or shuttling you to our open house from one of our parking lots. He's a good friend of ours. And he said, you know, Coach Dyes wants y'all to come down and talk about Japanese maples down here in Auburn and hang out at his hunting lodge. And, you know, Matt and I were like, come hang out in Alabama and talk Japanese maples? Sure. And he kept saying Coach Dye, like we should know who this guy is. And eventually I started realizing that, you know, he kept saying Coach Dye. So I Googled it, and it was Coach Dye of Auburn University. Well, he's a Hall of Fame coach. The field at Auburn's named after him, Coach Pat Dye Field. And so we're on our way down there, and I'm like, this guy's pretty famous. Well, we get down there, and Carl's down there. And while we're down there on that trip, you know, we made good friends with Coach Dye and went to visit him many times. But Carl gave us a moonrise, and that was our first moonrise on that trip. And we were down there doing some grafting things where, you know, Matt and I would show our grafting methods. Another nurseryman would show his grafting methods. Carl would show his. It was a fun little dynamic of people just playing off each other and sharing information. And, you know, that was our first experience with moonrise, and we came back, planted it, and just fell in love with it. I mean, it was everything we had wanted, and it's one of those trees that people are attracted to the second they see it. I've had my brother-in-law here at the nursery, and he's like, I want a moonrise. He got a moonrise for his garden. He's got 5 Japanese maples. One of them's a moonrise. My wife's aunts came and helped shuttle at one of our open houses. They left with moonrise. They said, I saw people carrying that tree out. I want one. I'm like, okay, you know, we're going to get one for your garden. And they get it and put it in their garden and begin to enjoy this color that it just keeps providing. It looks so good in the spring. It looks so good in the summer. It's always going to look good in anybody's yard. So if you don't have a moonrise, try to grab one. We try to list them on Mr. Maple as much as we can. It's one that's hard to keep in stock because it's really beautiful.
It is a winner. So this next one that you got on your list, that's a winner too.
Guys, years ago, Matt and I were able to walk around at Buckholtz Nursery well before we purchased Buckholtz Nursery. And we would walk through the nursery and make notes of things that just attracted us. And there was this tree that was called Joy of May. Well, I started begging Talon Buckholtz for it. I'm not much of a beggar, but I got down on my knees and said, Talon, pretty please, oh pretty please. And not really. It was actually dinner over pizza. I was like, hey, this is a really cool plant. You need to get this production. I need it. And he got changed the name to Mayday. And Mayday is a Makawa Yatsubusa variation. Probably one of the early variations of Makawa Yatsubusa that leaves out kind of apricot, but then goes to like this really nice blonde yellow. In the Makawa garden, it's going to be mostly yellow, while many of your other Makawa types are going to be more on that orange, pink, red spectrum. It's slow growing, 3 to 4 feet in 10 years in height and width. That tightly layering habit we loved with Makawa Yatsubusa that was on our last list at number 17. This one's higher to me. It's next level. It stands out from everything that's out there in the trade still. It's easy to grow. It handles full sun here in Western North Carolina where we're at. And in the Makawa garden, it grabs your attention because of how different it is from all the other Macawi Tsubusa variants. The color it provides, that blonde kind of color, is super attractive. It's great in containers. To me, it's one that is very, very special.
Now, I would have to think if we put together a list, a top 25 most requested or wanted trees, Mayday would come up very, very high on that list, because that is one that where I hear collectors, I mean, this tree is so sought after by so many people that, you know, it's a slow grower, so it takes time to get it out there. And I know Talon stopped producing it for a while, so it left a gap. But if we put together a list of most desired trees that collectors are looking for, it would be so high on that list.
I mean, Mayday is one of the most sought after trees on our website. I mean, we take some numbers off our website, and it clearly is one that gets a lot of traffic. Mayday is one of those trees that's hard to produce. And when we release sets, you know, there may be 100, 150. Sometimes those will last for 20, 25 seconds when we list them on one of our weekly releases on Mr. Maple. I wish I could release them every week because those are always good days. We always are working hard to have more Maydays available. I'm sure plenty of people who are listening to this podcast who have tried to get Mayday may have not been successful. Guys, we're working hard to make it available more and more and make it easier for you to get. It's just one of those things. It's a dwarf. It doesn't put on a lot of sign wood. Makawa types are notorious for being sometimes difficult to graft up by themselves. And there's always times with Makawa types when you think you're going to have a good success, you've got a good amount of sign wood, and then you get humbled, where you might not have as good a success as you had initially thought you were going to have. That's one of the difficult things about grafting Makawa types, but it's also one of the things that sort of adds to their mystique because they're harder to get a hold of. They're easy to grow. They're very durable, but they're difficult to produce. And it is such a beautiful next level tree. We're always working hard to make those available on Mr. Maple as much as we can. And guys, crops of Mayday, it's important to us. We're working hard for you. I just want to tell you, we hear you. We're working on it. Because I know that people are like, man, I missed out on a Mayday before. I hear you. I've missed out on plants before too. We're doing our best to make it available as quickly as we can for you on Mr. Maple. Guys, coming to number 8 is one of my next favorite Japanese maples. It's Acer Pomatum Mila. This is a selection by my good friend Dick Vandermaat of Holland. Again, I met him at a Maple Society meeting in Oregon. He was doing a grafting presentation. We became good friends. We corresponded back and forth in email quite a bit. It's one of those things where you meet somebody who has the same passion as you, and then all of a sudden you instantly become best friends. You know, it's amazing. Mila, to me, is one of the most striking colors on a Japanese maple I've ever seen. I can't really describe it as well as I should. Again, we get a multitude of colors that include red, maroon, orange, kind of a metallic-y sheen with hints of emerald in there. Maybe some yellow. All in one leaf. All displaying at the same time. That's my best description I can give you for the colors that you see on Mila. We have a full cultivar breakdown on the Mr. Maple Show where we always try to bring you cultivar highlights. Mila is an important one because those colors are impossible to describe. You can see a photo. Seeing a tree in the landscape helps a lot more. And seeing us stand beside of it, you get a perspective of what it can look like in your garden. Mila, it has an upright, vigorous form, fairly narrow. The colors are just outrageous in the spring. It goes to an emerald green after it has those outrageous colors that I attempted to describe a second ago. But then new growth flushes during the summer. Again, just have some amazing colors with this multitude of colors we mentioned. And that's all in one leaf. Like you get that all in the leaf at the same time. It's incredible. It's amazing. It's vigorous. It's heat tolerant. It's beautiful on anybody's judging. You see that and they're like, I love Mila. It become one of those trees that we were one of the first people in the United States to be able to offer it. And it's become one of those trees that we can't produce enough of.
I think it's just fascinating that the tree you're going from Mila to the next one. I mean, like, we're getting flashy all now. Like Tim's list going on ain't nothing. I mean, it's all It's all killers from here on out. So going from Mila to your number 7 Firefly, like holy cannoli.
Firefly is an amazing reticulated selection. It's my favorite reticulated Japanese maple. It is upright. It is vigorous. It is beautiful. In the early spring time frame, you can get some nice purple borders in the early spring, but you can also get hints of pink with lime green variegation in the veins. It is one that is constantly changing. So you can go from that to then cream with that purple border with hints of purple in there and red. To describe Firefly truly would be an injustice. So I do recommend you look through the photos on our website, but also often you can go to the Mr. Maple Friends group on Facebook and do a search for Firefly, because it's not just our photos that will do it justice. Our customers are always posting and bragging about their Firefly, so you can see what it looks like in their garden. It's constantly changing on its reticulation, where you get just different color patterns throughout the season. Sometimes new growth flushes in the summer can be some of the most intense purples on the outer edge with cream on the interior and green veining that I've ever seen. Sometimes you get some almost like purple veining going throughout it as well. It, to me, is spectacular. It was a chance seedling found by a friend of a friend. One of the friends we'd gotten some trees from, and he had the name on it of Moonfire, not realizing that there was another tree in the trade called Moonfire. Moonfire is actually a red upright. It's a sister seedling to Emperor One. It is a beautiful tree, more common in the trade than what this tree was. And so it couldn't have the same name as the other one. So we started talking to the guy we got it from, and he said, well, put a good name on it. We said, why not Firefly? And he said, let's go with it. I like it. So we were actually able to put the name on this, even though that we didn't actually find this selection. It was kind of crazy because when we got it, we first thought, this is Moonfire. This isn't. So this is a mislabel. Let's compare it with all the Ghost series and all of our reticulated Japanese maples. And when we sat it down beside of them, it stole the show. Nothing was even close. And we begin to realize how different and how beautiful this was in comparison to everything else we had. And that's when we were struck with, this isn't a mislabel. This is something new. This is something we've never seen before. That's when we had to dig in more from the guy that we got it from, and we'd assumed that it was incorrect. It was completely correct. It just had a name that was already in the trade. And so once it got the name Firefly, it spoke to people, and it just plays off of that just glowing nature that this tree can have in the garden.
It really does. I like how you mentioned, go look at photos of it, not just ours. Look at customers that have this in their garden, because I've seen so many comments that people leave when they look at the picture. They say, there's no way that's real. I'm here to tell you, it's real.
All right, guys, we got to move right along. So we're going on to number 6. At number 6, I've got Geisha Gone Wild. Geisha Gone Wild is a selection of a sport, this variegated sport that was found on the side of another variegated plant, Acer Pomatum Geisha. Talon Buchholz found this selection of this sport in Oregon and began to produce it and called it Geisha Gone Wild. Kind of a play off the term that this was a sport off the cultivar Geisha, and this sport had essentially gone wild. The interesting thing is Geisha is a really beautiful pink selection. It's not vigorous. It's not that durable. Geisha Gone Wild is. So somehow this mutated sport has become a more, a tree that's better for people's gardens, easier for the common person to grow in their landscape. But you still get amazing pinks. You see this in the early spring from a distance, and the whole tree looks pink. You get up close and you begin to realize that it has pink on the edge, on the pink margin variegation, with a deep red or cherry red center part of the leaf. Sunlight really peaks up the colors on Geisha Gone Wild, and it just steals the show. That pink color seems like something out of a storybook. It seems like something out of a fairy tale, because who's seen a pink tree in the landscape? We've seen trees that had, trees and shrubs that have blooms that are pink, but a pink tree? That seems like something out of the Lorax. It doesn't happen in real life. And in Geisha Gone Wild, it does. We're talking a 6 to 8 foot tree in the landscape. And full sun here in Western North Carolina is totally fine for Geisha Gone Wild. In hotter climates, you may need to give some protection from the hot afternoon sun. But for the most part, it's one of the more heat tolerant and very stable, variegated red, variegated Japanese maples I've ever seen. It's extremely stable in the garden, and it's going to be a tree that my wife loves it. I know women love it. I love it just because I love the color contrast it gives out there. I like flashy colors. I like flair. Pair this thing with a summer gold, you're going to have an amazing garden. I always say pair with summer gold. Summer gold only on my last, if you have to go watch that, it came in lower on the list, but it didn't make it into the top 12.
You know, you're talking about Geisha Gone Wild. I think that is really becoming one of my favorite focal point plantings. We talk about, you know, different ways to use Japanese maples in the landscape. And this is one because of that pink that you can build an entire garden around Geisha Gone Wild.
Yeah, you totally can. The pink's going to steal the show. The pink is going to be the thing that everybody talks about in the landscape. They're going to talk about, have you seen that pink tree that's in your neighbor's garden? It's one of the more popular trees that we do. It's one of the more easy trees for people to grow in their garden. And it's going to give someone a color that seems unreal. It seems made up. The spring color is spectacular, and that pink spring color holds through mid to late spring. By late spring, early summer for us, you start to get some greens in there. And when you start to get green on the interior part of the leaf and cream, and you still have some reds and white at the same time, it becomes a multicolored, just beautiful thing to go out there and photograph. Possibly one of my favorite times of the season up close is that summer time frame. Now, favorite time overall, probably that springtime, because that pink color is unreal. But the fall color can almost look like the spring color with just that vibrant pink red returning to the leaves that just seems like fairy tale like. It is an amazing tree coming at number 6. Guys, coming at number 5, I've got a newer introduction by Talon Buchholz, one of his latest introductions. It's Acer Pomatum Marmalade. This is a seedling that was named by Haruko Buchholz, found as a chance seedling underneath the large orange dream at Buchholz Nursery. It has some of the most intense spring colors that I've ever seen on a Japanese maple. The color looks like orange marmalade. I mean, it has that orange color to it. It's got the color you think of with marmalade, and it keeps pushing that orange color across. The older color can get kind of yellowish color. So you get this orange playing over top late in the season. The spring color, though, is just pure orange. And it's going to steal the show when you put it against any spring interest Japanese maple. Don't care what it is. Don't care who you got it from. You put it up against a marmalade, it's going to lose with its spring color. Marmalade, it is spectacular. To me, it's hard to beat on the spring color, and I think that it's going to be one that we'll be doing more and more of. It's, we dropped one of the first times on MrMaple last year. And I think that, I don't think if I did 2,000 to 4,000 a year, we could keep up with what the demand will be, because people don't know they need it yet. As soon as they see it, it's an instant knee-jerk reaction that they have to have it in their garden.
You nailed it right there, the way you just described it, that people, once this really gets out there and people really see it, it's going to blow people's mind. Because I could tell you a couple weeks ago when Brian, Matt, and I were at Buchholz Farm, Matt went off to go talk to Joel, and Brian and I said, well, let's go look at some of these trees in these greenhouses, see what they got going. And we walked in, and there was a set of marmalade in there. And just this set in there outperformed everything else inside that greenhouse. We walked in, and it was almost kind of like, it immediately drew Brian and I to that set, and we were like, holy cannoli. This is just, those colors you talk about, those, it's true. And you said it right. Once more people get exposed to Marmalade, it's going to be a hit.
Guys, coming at number 4, I've got a classic, one that came an instant classic. We're talking about Acer Pomatum, Lillians Jewel. Around the time we went to the Maple Society meeting, actually while we were at the Maple Society meeting, our good friend Richard Bomar, who we just met our very first trip to Oregon, we heard him talking about some nursery people should visit. And I went up and whispered to say, hey, can I get that guy's information? He came down, wrote it on a piece of paper, slid it across the desk, and walked off like it was like, like the secret information you're passing off at the mob hit or something. And, we took it, called and went and visited Del Laux Nursery. And it was amazing to get to see all these amazing plants. But Lillian's Jewel was his new seedling that his grandson, Jonathan Savlich, who we know very well, we're good friends with, he had found this as a chance seedling. And on this chance seedling, there was this sport coming off of it that was the variegation that became Lillian's Jewel. It's named after his daughter, Lillian. You may see some people in Europe who have renamed it Extravaganza. That's the incorrect name. Lillian's Jewel is the correct name. We always try to promote the name that the person who found it put on it. Its original name is typically the best one because it gives credit to the person who found it. And this one, Jonathan's named after his daughter. He's honoring his daughter with this name of Lillian's Jewel. It is a 6 to 8 foot semi-pendulous red Matsumuri with pink variegation that can get almost some pink sports across it at times, but it can get some white variegation in there as well. In more sunlight, you're going to get more cherry reds and more pinks. In more shaded conditions, you may get some greens in it with some whites. It's one of the most dynamic variegated selections I've ever seen. It's very consistent on this unique style of variegation where you have sporadic pink and white variegation across the tree. There are many selections that I've chased throughout the years that are red Matsumuris or red Aminums, which is like a blood good style leaf, or the leaf that's a little more divided than that have pink variegation on them. And many of them are unstable, meaning that they can revert and you'll get solid red branches and they'll never come back. Lillian's Jewel is fairly stable. It's one of the more stable, variegated reds that I've ever seen. In comparison, if I grafted something like Fujinami Nishiki and I grafted 200, I may get 2 or 3 that are variegated. That's a lot of wasted trees in that process and a lot of wasted time. Lillian's Jewel, if I grafted 200 or 300 Lillian's Jewel, there might be one that I grafted from an unvariegated branch and promoted incorrectly. And it stays fairly stable throughout the entire time. It's one of the most beautiful selections I've seen. It has a lot of flair, a lot of flash. It can be a focal point, but putting it up close, you can really appreciate the variegation. It gives that extra it factor in the garden. If you like flair, it's the tree for you. If you don't like flair, you're going to hate this tree because it is so beautiful. Just a pink and the white all across that red. It is next level.
And you talk about those with the red. I mean, it's almost like how many different shades of red in it, especially like I love sitting back with one of these in the landscape and watch the wind blow through it and move it. And it's almost like you catch multiple different shades of pink and red going on. Great tree.
All right, guys, I've made it from 25 down to number 3. Let me know how my list is coming in the comments section below if you're on YouTube. Y'all, when it comes to Japanese maples, I love them. We've evaluated tons. This next one, actually the next 3 are all introductions that we've evaluated and introduced here at Mr. Maple. I guess I'm a little sided with my own selections because I've got a personal connection with each of them. But they're also really beautiful and pretty awesome. Coming at number 3, I've got Acer Pomatum Dragon Master. This is a weeping seedling that leaves out kind of orange new growth, and then goes to yellow. It has a pendulous, heavily cascading habit, something to the kin of Ryusin. It has a leaf that's very similar to something like Orange Dream or Summer Gold. A little bit larger, a little more rounded and full. it gives a lot of color out there in the landscape, but the habit gives you something fun to play out there in the garden with. With this heavily cascading habit, you can grow this tree staked up and let it cascade down for a fountain-like effect. You can give that yellow color in the landscape as a ground cover without staking. You can grow this tree in a hanging basket and just let those branches just cascade down. I mean, why should we always put annuals in hanging baskets and have to put new plants in them every year when you could grow a Japanese maple in a hanging basket and enjoy it year after year? So, I mean, there's so many fun ways to grow Dragon Master. When we introduced Dragon Master, we actually had been evaluating and growing some seedlings that were yellow and cascading from Dawn Shadow. We were comparing them with our selection, which is Dragon Master, and then there's 2 by Talon Buckholz. So we were trading with all of them and comparing and contrasting. And to be honest with you, Dragon Master or Golden Falls could have easily, either one could have really subbed out on this list. I sided with Dragon Master a little bit because of my personal connection with it. Talon had sent us Golden Falls and we compared it, and Golden Falls can give you some amazing Katsura-like vibes in the springtime with that red border and some good yellow color. But Dragon Master, it's just our introduction. It's got that yellow color. It's got that larger leaf, more rounded leaf than, a little bit larger leaf than Golden Falls. It gives you a fuller appearance with that weeping habit. To me, it edges out Golden Falls, and there's only spot for one of them on this list. It's a tight list. It's a tight list. So, guys, Dragon Master coming in at number 3.
Hey, I've got a Dragon Master at home, and I agree with you. If I was putting together my top 25, it would be right up there towards the top of the list like this. Love how it gets that red border in the spring around that leaf. And I'll tell you what, just the way it weeps, I've got it between a couple rocking chairs, elevated, and it weeps down, and it just has a presence unlike anything else.
It's one of those trees that when I could get yellow in the landscape, but I could get it in the weeping habit. This was one of the very first weeping yellows. We actually released Dragon Master before anyone else ever released any of theirs. There was a Conifers Society event here at Mr. Maple where we had about 300 people here at Mr. Maple. And that's when we officially released Dragon Master for the first time. And I think we might have sold 300 or 400 that day because people were literally, getting 7 to go take back home because it's a game changer, a yellow and a weeper. To me, it's one that's got a very high place in the garden. And when I start, after we've picked out our floor plan, my next thing is to start figuring out where can I put some of these top 25 Japanese maples in my garden. I can't wait.
So your next one coming in, I mean, this one is a lot of people, the hype train on this one. But you know what? Having the opportunity to see this next one in the ground and seeing how it performs, there's no denying it's the real deal.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is each of these trees give the garden something different in a unique way. And coming at number 2, guys, it's Red Panda. Red Panda is our introduction here at Mr. Maple of a red Makabe Yatsubusa. We've evaluated thousands and thousands of spring interest colored Makabe Yatsubusas. In fact, we've sold tons of spring interest that just have color as just seedlings here at Mr. Maple. Many people have actually taken seedlings of ours that we passed on, and they're evaluating to see if they should name them. And some of them have already even put working names on many of the seedlings that we've sold through here at Mr. Maple. Guys, none of those hold a stick or hold a candle, I don't know the exact expression, to Red Panda. It holds its color long throughout the season. It gives you a bold red color. And it holds it later in the season than any of the other selections here in Western North Carolina. And then late in the season, it continues to push red new growth each and every time. That is a good distinguishing characteristic of a Japanese maple that has good color, is that second flush. That second flush, how strong, how vibrant is it? And if you pick through those and compare it, Red Panda will knock all of them, right off the top. It by far is the best red Makawa type I've ever seen. Again, we went through thousands and thousands. We're talking excess of probably 20,000 red Makawa seedlings. And Red Panda, by far, one of the best.
Like I say, is having the opportunity to see some people that you've allowed early to evaluate it, to be able to go see it in the ground and see how it performs. Like I say, it's the real deal. Brian Rule, he has one in the ground, and the pictures and going over there and looking at it in person this spring, and even now the red that it's pushing is so intense. It's the real deal. I know there's a lot of people, it's, my Makawa leafs out red, or I've got, that leafs out red. No. Yes, yours leafs out red, but doesn't hold it, doesn't look like this.
I know recently you were in a garden of a customer of ours, Anton's, in Portland, Oregon. And what were some of the words that he had to say about Red Panda?
He said, I know that there's a lot of hype on this tree, but I'll tell you what, it lives up to the hype. Those were his words, and we'll have a video coming out here soon.
A tour of his garden.
A tour of his garden, and he talks about the Red Panda and his words that I know that there's a lot of hype behind this tree, but it lives up to that hype.
Guys, Red Panda, one of our best introductions to date, one of our only patented selections of a Japanese maple. To me, it's a winner. It has that Makawi Tsubusa-like habit, but red color. And if people have been searching this out for a long time, getting the best form of it, that bold red color it provides in the spring garden is next level in that Makawi Tsubusa-like habit with those tightly layering shingle-like leaves. It gives you an essence of this unique, lively creature, but with a unique color form that just is very bold and rich in its color. It's very durable. It's easy to grow. Guys, Red Panda, we're making them available as quick as we can on MrMaple.
And a lot more of them that have been coming along. I mean, I think today some dropped today, and what is that?
When we're shooting this podcast, a little early,
yeah. But I want to say, was this like the fourth or fifth time that sets have dropped this year?
Yeah.
So
we're constantly making them available as much as we can through our 10 at 10 drops on MrMaple. So pay attention, guys. We'll be bringing it back. And coming in at number one, guys, from my all-time favorite Japanese maples, 25 all the way down to number one, I'm bringing you with Acer oliveranum Hot Blonde. It's a selection, part of our Heat Seeker series here at MrMaple. It is vigorous. It is yellow. It's got an Acer oliveranum-like leaf. It was a chance seedling that Matt and I found at the Keys Arboretum in Chapel Hill of an Acer oliveranum, likely ex-Acer shirosana aureum. In the springtime, it shares what aureum does with having a little bit of a red border around the edge in the early spring with some just amazing yellow color. It leaves out later just like Acer shirosana aureum, which gives it some durability in those climates, especially high altitudes where you may get late frosts. Here in West North Carolina, we get late frosts all the time. It's a great advantage for a tree to leaf out later because when it leaves out later, it's still not in leaf when those frosts are happening. Hot Blonde, it's vigorous. Once it's in leaf, it grows very fast. It makes a good-sized tree, typically in excess of a foot of growth per year, reaching 10 to 12 feet in 10 years. It's beautiful. It's got a good upright shape. It is yellow and gets more intensely yellow as that summer goes on. It can handle the sun, and in fact, it seeks out the sun, being an Acer oliveranum. It grows faster in sunlight than it does in the shade. That's impressive. Most Japanese maples don't do that. During the summer months, you can get some salmon pink new growth on the secondary flush that is a stark contrast over top of that bright yellow. And then in the fall, to me, it's one of the best, if not the best, fall-colored Japanese maple, going to an intense bright red to orange red in the fall. That's right. I will say that I think Hot Blonde has better fall color than Osakazuki. It holds for a long period of time. The intensity is more intense, if that can even be a thing, than Osakazuki. Hot blonde. It's a beautiful tree. It's a fast-growing tree. It's a heat-tolerant tree that can handle the sun, and it gives you that yellow color that I love so much in the landscape and garden. If you've got room for a tree that can be 12 feet in 10 years, guys, hot blonde, plant it, enjoy it. It's going to be a Japanese maple that you're going to love. Now, Acer oliveranum is a species in section Palmata, closely related to the japonicums, the shirosanums, and palmatums. It's actually from China. The unique thing about this is that it is, in fact, that hybrid with Acer shirosawanum. So it is a hybrid Japanese maple that gives a lot of the ornamental traits that we love about Japanese maples, specifically about like the golden full moon Japanese maple. And you get that with the superpower that Acer oliveranum can provide of that added heat tolerance and vigor. It's a game changer, and it pushes the boundaries on what we think of Japanese maples, the heat tolerance, being able to handle that sunlight and have an ornamental trait that people can enjoy.
You know what? I think this list is just absolutely fascinating. I'm thoroughly entertained on how many changes were made, because I know it's got to be difficult. But like I say, this was fun. These last two podcasts, a lot of fun, because like I say, it's a lot of, I see it. I've asked you and Matt, and I've seen other employees ask and customers, well, what do you like? Because, you know, honestly, there's no one else. There's no collector out there. I know there's a lot of collectors. Oh, I've got this many. I've got this many. I've got this many. There's no one else that I know outside of you and your brother that have as many Japanese maples. So you guys know what's out there. And for you to have to kind of nail it down, because, you know, we've done these other lists, top this, top that, but these are what you personally like. So I find it just really interesting to see what you've narrowed it down to. And I appreciate you giving us that insight for what you enjoy.
I got to be real with you. This is not an easy thing to do. Picking out your favorite kids out of a list of 1,500 is not easy. There's lots of crossing out here. There's lots of, oh man, I can't believe I didn't include that. Oh man, I can't believe, like, I honestly can't believe that I crossed out Purple Ghost and it didn't make it on this list. Like, I would say that's one of my favorites. It's my favorite of the Ghost series. And the fact that it didn't make it to this list just gives credence to how much I love these other trees. It's an interesting list. It's very eclectic, very flashy, very showy. There's lots of yellow things on here, but you will notice it's not all the yellow trees. There's plenty of yellow selections that did not make it to this list. So I tried to choose my favorites and things that were dynamic to me, things that meant something to me. And I hope y'all kind of enjoyed hearing this unusual list of top 25 Japanese maples from Tim Nichols here at MrMaple. That's me. So excited to actually get this list out. Now, the question is, if I did this list a month from now, is it going to be the same? I don't know. Probably not. It always changes. We've seen, you know, Talon claim 3 different members of his only 9-member Ghost series. It was 8-member at the time. 3 different ones have been his favorite off that list. So I'm sure mine will change as well. But that's part of life and part of enjoying this great hobby that we all enjoy. Y'all, thanks so much for jumping in on this podcast. Make sure you share this video with your gardening friends. If you hadn't saw that other 25 to number 13, go check that out. There's some killer plants I talk about in that list as well. And y'all, we really appreciate if you continue to shop with us on MrMaple.com.
Hey, y'all, take care.
God bless.
Have a great day.